All right, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, a lot of news and distractions involving what's going to happen with one particular veteran at the most important position on the field. But again, lost in the hustle and bustle is that there's a young rookie that continues to get off to an impressive start for Pittsburgh. Granted, it's early, but the signs are nothing but positive. We'll get into all that in just 1 second. I think it's really great news for Pittsburgh. But first, I'm Nick, that is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, this entire offseason has begun and ended with the letters Q and B for the better part of what feels like 45 decades now. All the conversations, of course, involving Aaron Rodgers and when this sort of situation, this dance will come to a conclusion. Hopefully sooner it'll become official, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, lost in the hustle and bustle of this is the selection of quarterback Will Howard out of Ohio State from Kansas State prior to that. And we talked about how he got off to a great start with the offensive coaching staff about a week ago. Well, now we've got another report because as we've gone through sort of the rookie mini camps, the rookie sort of media sessions, Will Howard continues to impress. So let's go into something he said recently and something, we'll go into some of the things the Steelers have also said recently, but we'll focus into some data as well. But first, let's get into our first article here. Let's pull it up here. This is courtesy of Steelers Depot. Will Howard doesn't have a cannon for an arm. He doesn't run a 4.4 40. Those lack of elite physical traits are largely why he fell to the 6th round of the 2025 NFL draft. That is 100% true. But what Howard lacks physically, he makes up for intangibly. In the NFL, those who work hardest at the craft often have the most success, and Howard plans on maximizing his ability. That's what I like to hang my hat on, is working hard, Howard said during a recent one-on-one interview with Steelers.com Missy Matthews. I may not be the most talented guy in the world all the time, but I'm going to outwork everybody, and that's kind of what I like to be about. Bring the heart, bring the fire, and just outworking people. So there's a lot to really like there. Number one, I love the self-awareness, right? We know Will Howard's got a little bit of confidence, a little bit of swagger to him, but he says, listen, I'm not the most athletic guy. I'm not Lamar Jackson, not even remotely close. I'm not Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I'm not those guys. Heck, I may not even be Aaron Rodgers, even Aaron Rodgers on the other side of 40. But the reality is I am the hardest working guy. I'm going to constantly and consistently get better at my craft. And the thing is, a lot of people like to say it. I do love the recognition and the self-awareness that he has, but a lot of players, virtually all of them say, yeah, I'm a hard worker. To me, I want to look at the data. I want to say, listen, if you're such a hard worker, did you get better? Did you take massive leaps? And looking at Will Howard, obviously he's only played college football up to this point. Did you get massively better at the college level year to year? And let's pull up some numbers here. This is really exciting stuff. So we looked at Will Howard's 2023 season, his last year at Kansas State, before he goes to Ohio State. And this is the first chart here. This is Will Howard improvement. The blue is 2023, his last year at Kansas State. The red is Ohio State 2024. You can see yards per game, big spike. Passer rating, big spike. Completion percentage, big spike. Everything got better across the board. Let's go into our second chart here just to highlight that even further. Will Howard's yards per attempt 2024 compared to 2023, massive spike. Adjusted yards per attempt, one of my favorite metrics. It factors in touchdowns, interceptions, and sacks into yards per attempt. Also massive spike. Interception percentage went down. That's what you want to see. Fewer of your passes that you're attempting to get intercepted, right? Sometimes you can have it at higher yards per attempt because you throw the ball deep more, but if you turn the ball over more, that's not generally good. Well, Howard got better at throwing the ball deep while also throwing fewer interceptions, and of course, he led his team to a national championship. So you look at what Will Howard has done. He's literally improved massively 2023 to 2024. Now, some people will say, well, that's just a function of, going from Kansas State to Ohio State. He's got better players around him. That's fair, but let's also keep in mind that Big Ten actually plays defense and the Big 12 doesn't, right? Patrick Mahomes, I think, threw for 80 touchdowns his last year. Like Baker Mayfield threw for like 25,000 yards at Oklahoma, right? The reality is the Big 12 love to watch them play on Saturdays, but a lot of the games end up like 58-55, right? Let's be real here. So having a massive jump in numbers and efficiency going from the Big 12 Kansas State to the Big 10 Ohio State is a lot more impressive, even though he had some better players around him in terms of on paper at Ohio State. So when you look at where Will Howard is right now, you can clearly see that he is on the right trajectory. He is improving. Now the question is, can he carry that momentum and carry that leap into the National Football League? I think so. In fact, you even have Mike Tomlin already saying this recently, according to Yahoo Sports. He's doing great, but again, we're at the very beginning of it. I don't know what we're looking at through the lens in terms of evaluating him. It's more about getting to know him and just laying a good foundation that way. So even Mike Tomlin saying, listen, this kid's doing great so far, right? It's early, right? He's couching it. It's early. We're trying to lay the foundation. But so far, so good, right? No matter where you look, you can find nothing but positive reports about Will Howard from the Steelers coming out of him directly, and the data supports everything Will Howard is saying. It's very clear there's something special about Will Howard. Now, special can just be quality backup. Special can just be a guy lasts for 15 years in the NFL as number 2. Special can just be he has one magical season, right? Special can be also long-term answer franchise quarterback. We don't know yet, right? Time will tell. Right? We'll have to see how it all shakes out. But at this point, I think it's clearly undeniable that there is something very special with this quarterback, with this young player. What he'll become, again, we'll have to wait and see, and that's exactly what Tomlin is saying, and that's what the coaches are saying. But even they have to couch all their comments with that statement because they're like, hey, this kid so far is pretty good. And like we said, the data supports massive improvement. And if that trend continues, he'll easily acclimate to the NFL, or as easy as you can anyway, and quickly become a quality player. All right, Mize, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, Steelers fans, in the comment section below. Obviously, there's all the drama with Rodgers at the quarterback position. Maybe by the time you watch this video, it's been resolved. Who knows? And of course, we really like Will Howard on this channel for very good reasons. We've outlined them a bunch. But what's another player the Pittsburgh Steelers have added this offseason, through the draft, undrafted free agency, regular free agency, right? Maybe a trade, certain receiver comes to mind. But give us one player the Steelers have added that you think will have the biggest impact going into the regular season, right? May not be the biggest name, but a guy you think will have a massive impact. Give us that guy in the comment section below. But Mize, over to you now. What are your thoughts on the Steelers, this latest Will Howard news, and just everything going on with the quarterback position?
Yeah, Nick, I think that, when you hear about Will Howard, you hear about what I think you need to focus more on, like what you focus on here, is what he brings to the table in his intangibles, all of those abilities that everybody seems to really like, and the improvement he's made from year to year. I think that's the key here. Everyone's down on this guy for, lack of arm strength, not necessarily an athletic freak, but it's really easy to get caught up in that stuff. But he's athletic enough. He's plenty athletic to be an NFL quarterback, especially if you go through some of the greats of, I think it was a little bit different league nowadays, but I still think the archetype of that style of quarterback can work. You look, Tom Brady, I know it's a little bit arbitrary to, compare people to Tom Brady. Tom Brady really like a 5.2, 8, 40-yard dash. Will Howard, on the other hand, running a 4.8 40. So he's plenty fast enough. Drew Brees, very slow 40 time. Peyton Manning also ran like a 5.8 40. So I think these guys with their numbers, things like that, everyone is up and down. All these guys had different things that they weren't necessarily great at, but they go in to be NFL Hall of Famers. So I think those stats are, kind of, important. They help indicate stuff, but they're not the end-all, be-all. You can still be an incredible NFL quarterback if you don't hit like a 4.2 40 as a quarterback and can throw it like 100 miles an hour over like 2 football fields. We all see Joe Milton as a guy. He came into the draft. He can throw the ball like 75, 80 yards, no problem. But that's also a guy who he hasn't started for an NFL team yet. It's not everything just to be athletic. So I think Will Howard's intangibles and what he brings to the table in that aspect is really, really important. But I want to hit on what you're talking about. I think the growth here, just getting into a system, and we already saw Will Howard at Kansas State. He was a decent player. He did pretty good stuff. But we saw the jump of once he got to truly good players, once he got a really great team around him at Ohio State, he made the jump. He got even better. So I think coming to the Steelers, who are a team that I think is set up very well. I know a lot of people will be, a little bit skeptical of the offensive side of the ball, but I think all in all, the young running back they got looks incredible. Jalen Warren is going to be very good. Pat Freiermuth is a great tight end. DK Metcalf, elite wide receiver. Then Calvin Austin, the third, excellent speed, is a guy that can really break the game if he gets going on offense. I think this is a team that's set up really well for a young quarterback to start. And I think what you said, it's not necessarily that he's going to start game one or even year one, but I think he will start. It's not a matter of if he's going to start, it's just when he is going to start. So I think when Will Howard gets the opportunity to start, things are lining up and setting up here for him to have a really good shot at being something special at the quarterback position. Now, I want to go back to something you said a few days ago, maybe a week or so ago, on one of our videos about quarterbacks for a different team, and said what you do at the quarterback position is you don't get a 50-50 chance to get a good quarterback. You'd rather have a 10% chance to get something special. And I think that's what they did here in Will Howard. Maybe if he had a little bit better attributes, less intangibles, you go for someone more mundane, someone more, run-of-the-mill style of quarterback in the draft, you get a little bit better floor and a little bit less high of a ceiling there, and, probably be a decent, mediocre, and no offense to him, but like Mason Rudolph style of quarterback. Mm-hmm. No one special, not going to lead you to a Super Bowl, isn't a guy that's going to break the world. But when you get a guy like Will Howard, his intangibles are off the chart, there's a lot of potential there. It is less of a chance. There's a much less chance because he doesn't have all those physical attributes, but there still is that 10% chance that he could be something great. And I think that's why what the Steelers did here at the quarterback position is very, very special.
Yeah, and if you go through other things Will Howard has said over the past couple of days, this kid has just, I call him a kid. I mean, he's a grown man at this point, but he's got just a level of awareness I think is really important, right? And it doesn't seem like that, anything special, doing a good job in interviews, handling yourself a certain way, answering all the questions. But the reality is, quarterback is like being the CEO or at least a high-ranking executive of a Fortune 500 company, right? You are the public face, right? How you do in interviews, goes a long way to perception, both inside the organization and out. And if you listen to what he said in an interview talking about what it means to be a Steelers quarterback with an interview with Kay Adams, he said recently, Howard said, they need a gritty guy. Growing up for me, watching the Pittsburgh Steelers, it was Big Ben. And Big Ben, he was that guy. He was Pittsburgh. He was the Steel City, the blue collar, the gritty guy. I want to be that too. I want to bring that edge, that energy. I think I did a pretty good job of it at Ohio State. They won a national title, I would agree. And I like to pride myself on that. I'm going to try and bring that to the Steel City. So again, saying all the right things. I mean, this is the kind of thing that every fan, every sort of person in the organization wants to hear. Like, listen, Big Ben was amazing. He was great. They want a tough, gritty quarterback. Everyone wants a tough, gritty quarterback. I want to be that guy. I think I can be that guy. I want to bring that to the city. Like, all of this is what you would expect from like a 5-year vet in the NFL, right? This is kind of, just sort of things that you would expect a guy in the microphone, like who's been around the block a million times to say. But Will Howard, again, he's played a lot of football collegiately, but again, new to the NFL, rookie 6th-round pick. You wouldn't expect him to have this level of awareness, this level of intelligence. But I think it doesn't seem like much like it's an interview. Who cares? The reality is it just shows a consistent pattern. We're starting to see all this evidence right here. He crushes it with the Steelers when it comes to the interviews. Like, this kid is smart. He carries over that intelligence in terms of dealing with the media. That means he'll probably carry over the intelligence to every other aspect of his life. We know it works on the football field. He just won a national title his first year with the program. By the way, people forget Ohio State was left for dead after they lost to Michigan. They're like, this program's a bust. Ryan Day, their head coach, about to get fired. It's game over. Will Howard leads the charge to go on that great playoff run. You talk about intelligence, you talk about leadership, you talk about all the traits, and now you look at his production and realize that his work ethic actually led to results and improvement. No matter what you look at, whether you just take a subjective point of view, an objective point of view, whatever it may be, Will Howard has an impact on organizations, and he has an impact on himself in terms of getting better and better. His ceiling isn't even close to being reached yet. Now, what that ceiling will be, again, time will tell. Is the ceiling great backup? Is that ceiling guy who never plays a single snap? Or is that ceiling multiple Pro Bowls, taking the Steelers on deep playoff runs? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but it's undeniable at this point. So far, so good for this young Steelers quarterback.